Hey there, I am Meredith, and I am an intuitive and an astrologer based out of the mountains of North Carolina. Except right now, I am visiting my hometown, which I am excited about. I've tried to record this video lots of times, and for whatever reason, it has not worked for me for one reason or another. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to be sharing this information with you. I just wanted to let you guys know as well that I'm planning on releasing a Substack about this for each rising sign. This is a long transit and I'm sorry I'm a little late, but better late than never. And also, if you are curious about kind of tasting my work, I have added some 15-minute sessions on my website. All of that can be found in the description box below. And now let's get started in talking about Mars and Gemini. So what is Mars? Well, Mars is the god of war. Mars is the planet that has to do with action, aggression, forward momentum. It has to do with like passion and sexuality, and it's all those things in our lives that we need a little bit of a fire under our butt to be able to do, right? So I think that with Mars being in Taurus and having come out of Taurus recently, that was kind of exhausting. That was like a lot of lethargy and some inertia, and I felt that way. And then as soon as Mars comes into Gemini, it's like it's quick. Gemini is a sign that has to do with duality of everything. So good and evil, black and white, yes and no, good and bad, right and wrong, all of those things. It's all of the polarities of the world. And I think that that's why Gemini gets such a bad rap, because you see people who have relationships with any, Gemini placement, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm never dating a Gemini ever again. Or like, I'm never it's Gemini receives quite a bit of hatred in the colloquial astrology community. And I believe that that is because people don't know what to do with polarity, like duality. And in terms of like hermeticism or like magic or like the initiation or the invitation that comes with the sign of Gemini whenever we're in that kind of energy is always to find that like special mystical center that very much exists as part of you, like is not really connected to as much the polarity that you see out there, but you are centered enough within yourself and you have integrated all of these different pieces. That's the highest expression of Gemini. There's a very mystical state that we can occupy when we get into that perspective. But with Mars coming into Gemini, unfortunately, I think this makes people a lot more opinionated. This is where like things that are unsaid will come up to the surface and, to be said, and things that kind of, need to be aired out will be aired out. I think of Mars and Gemini as something that kind of can scatter itself. Like in all of our lives, we might feel like obviously an increased tempo, but then there is that sort of like, oh shit, like you can feel that kind of like the desire maybe to take on a lot or to be moving around. I mean, Mars in Gemini is extroverted. And so I want to talk a little bit about 2020 because I feel like something happened through the Neptune in Pisces and the North Node in Gemini square that happened in July. And really, it was like May until August when that square could be felt. The North Node moved into Gemini in May of 2020. And I feel like there's a point at which the Tower of Babel fell and we could no longer communicate with one another. Everybody's using different definitions for words, different things mean different things, and nobody seems to care to get on the same page with one another before forcing, their opinions down other people's throats. So I kind of feel like, it's really good to be aware that we're heading into this very like high tension, division kind of energy, especially in the US. I think that that's very clear that there's a fake civil war, that it's not, it's like, you know, but I would say that that was probably the start of it, was when the North Node moved into Gemini. Gemini is the polarity, effectively dividing the population into order followers and non-order followers, or whatever you want to say. It's like, there's definitely been a lot of people while the North Node was in Gemini and Saturn was in Aquarius who figured out, yeah, these are not my friends, but these are my friends. There's a certain level of figuring out relationships that we're going through, and still going through with Saturn and Aquarius. And with the North Node in Taurus, I think there's even a relational component to that, though it's not maybe what people expect it to be. It's not the relational component of Libra, but it's there is a relational component to the North Node in Taurus. It's just more who practically serves me right now, instead of like, who do I want to commit to forever and ever, in terms of friendships, in terms of all types of relationships, I think have been tested and strengthened through these transits that we've gone through in the last few years, starting with that North Node in Gemini transit. The North Node in Gemini made a square, which is like an aspect of contention. It's like, to Neptune in Pisces, which Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. This is the energy of deception and victimization, and also maybe on the other side of that polarity, I would say Neptune is like the resurgence of the witch, like a lot of witches kind of coming back to their ancestral path, and a lot of people kind of like coming back to magic and remembering that that's something that we used to do and that we need to do it again, as like, and sort of reclaim that for ourselves. But I think that in terms of like where we are in society right now, I would say that there's probably several like signposts of dystopia. I think of like factory farming, like monocropping, just different things that go on in our culture that we have accepted and normalized as normal that shouldn't be normal. And I think that like, there's these practices that are like barbaric, and we don't really realize that because we're so conditioned. So I kind of think we're coming out of a little bit of a consciousness dark age. We're on the rise, but I think it's important to think about with a transit like Neptune and Pisces in sort of an age where it's very high confusion and high deception. I think that Neptune and Pisces is like, it's gonna fall into the trap, right? So I think that, I'm not sure that resurgence of magic exists for everyone, but I do think that it's there for people who have kind of like felt that pulse, right? So this North Node in Gemini squared to Neptune in Pisces, as well as the Venus retrograde that also squared Neptune in Pisces in Gemini, like from Gemini. That was in May of 2020 as well. Venus took a retrograde station, and in May and July of 2020, I believe, also squared Neptune. So there was this relational piece to it with Venus of like, who are my right people? What is my right energy for like my environment, and like what do I need to do to be around them? That was kind of the energy of like sifting through, sorting through certain people. I'm sure that during that Venus retrograde, a lot of people revealed themselves to you. That's May until July roughly of 2020. I didn't look too deep into the dates, but so the North Node moved through the sign of Gemini until January 18th of this year, when the North Node moved into Taurus, thereby changing somewhat the collective backdrop and the experience of what we're going through right now. So the North Node is in Taurus, which impacts energy, it impacts finances, it impacts like just your own feeling of self-worth and your own value system as well. And the North Node in Taurus has gone through quite a journey, right? And now Mars is starting from basically the same degree that Venus went retrograde as well in 2020 and is going to take a retrograde station. So I want to talk about Mars retrograde, but I'll tell you the dates first. So Mars retrograde is going to be October 30th until January 12th. So, I'm not a fan of Mars retrograde. I have Mars direct in my chart, and it's hard to get things done. It's hard to get things moving, hard to be disciplined, hard to initiate new things during Mars retrograde. And I feel that this retrograde is going to impact communication quite a bit, especially in the US. There is such a thing as elections, midterm elections. I cannot stand that is a thing that exists. But since it is, since we all live in this country, then there are people who take those things incredibly seriously. And I believe that there will be such high intensity and polarity around that. But I also see more people not giving a shit and realizing that it's a sham show. So I think that the more the merrier on that regard, because the sooner we all realize that it's a sham show, the sooner that we can come together and create something else. So yeah. But I think that Mars retrograde in Gemini, well, first of all, this is going to, I believe, impact travel, movement, transportation, like cars, that kind of thing. I think that, all right, Gemini is respiration, the lungs. There's probably I don't know. I mean, we're set up now to have paninis, panoramas, whatever. So I think that, as long as you're keeping your immune system in check and you are talking to your body and you have a relationship with your body and your divinity, then you'll be good. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. But I do think that, we're heading into a time where our ideas are going to be tested. I feel like people's ideas in general, all ideas. I think that censorship could be a thing that comes up with this Mars retrograde, and taking people's voices out of the situation altogether. I also think that it's there's going to be this sort of this desire, at least for me, I can tell you that, to not listen to the two loudest voices in the room. For the people who are waging peace in this bitch, and trying to not get involved in a engineered war where one side fights the other, and then people can bring order to chaos. I'm going to be waging as much peace in my life as I possibly can. I think that Mars retrograde tends to be a difficult time for people who are very forward motion oriented, who aren't very reflective, because we have an addiction to not only instant gratification, but instant results in this culture. And Mars retrograde is a time of delayed gratification and of delayed results. It's going to it's going to culminate, but it will culminate eventually. It'll just be harder to get started too. So go ahead while Mars is still direct, even though it is definitely slowing down, and get your shopping done, do what you need to do whatever you need to do. This is kind of like a burp, 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 burp warning, do whatever you need to do. Go pick up some provisions, I think that this is a great time to be stocking up, and I've talked about that before, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore on here. And I think that it's just a good time to be able to be flexible with plans, with people. Mutable signs are all about change. And, I think that especially in October and November, and then again next year, when Mars moves into that square to Neptune, there's going to be a lot of confusion. about what's going on and what's happening. We're going to feel as the population like very ill-informed on stuff. This brings up the information war thing that we kind of dealt with in 2020. So we know how to deal with it, you know, we're all the stronger now. So yeah, but I think like this is a really good time actually to have those difficult conversations because the shit's just going to come up. It's just going to start falling out of your mouth. You're just going to start wanting to have these conversations. And I think that's a good thing. So yeah, I think that that's all I have to say. I was going to make a whole lot more about it, but it's just, I don't know, it's been challenging for me to make content, and I am a planetary conduit, so that tells you something. All right. I hope that you have a great day and that you're taking really, really good care of yourself. This is a great transit to do breath work and like Wim Hof kind of stuff. Also a really good transit to do polarity work. So yeah, enjoy. Bye.